One of the things that every abnormal psychology class tackles at some point is the question, what is normal? Because you cannot talk about what is abnormal without defining what's normal. Is it an easy question to answer? No, not at all. In fact, there really isn't one answer. As I say quite often, humans are complex creatures. Our behaviors vary by culture, by family traits, by religious beliefs. I could go on and on. So, today, on a podcast about narcissistic abuse, we are going to talk about healthy relationships. Because we can't very well talk about unhealthy relationships if we don't know what a healthy one is, can we? Let's get into it. Welcome to Waking Up from Narc Abuse, a micro podcast by Alana Sandler. This is a micro podcast. It's meant to start your thoughts flowing. It's meant to be the beginning of a conversation, a dialogue, not a monologue. Because we're talking about something that's pretty heavy, my hope is that shorter episodes that are easier to digest will help you without overwhelming you. And here is today's show. Imagine being in a space where you can be yourself without fear, where communication flows freely, and where mutual support and understanding are the norm. That's the core of a healthy relationship. It's a place where you can grow, thrive, and be your true self. A place where you can do all that and you are accompanied by someone who wants that for you. And you want that for them in return. Do you know what this feels like? Do you have experience with anything like that? I hope you do. I really do. But so many of us don't. And that's not our fault. It's the luck of the draw in life, truly. Most of my listeners have some degree of people-pleasing tendencies. And we people pleasers can get ourselves into some sticky situations with other people. Because as people pleasers, we're good listeners, we're thoughtful, kind, and caring, people who have troubles are often drawn to us. They get heard and cared for in a way that maybe they've never experienced before. Meanwhile, we also need to be listened to. We also need to be cared for. But we usually become the ones who are giving those things rather than receiving things. And that's both because we have trouble receiving and because we choose to be around people who just aren't so great at giving. They are often much better at taking. When you're a people pleaser, you may end up with the type of friends who need a lot from you, and romantic relationships where someone has some pretty dysfunctional habits. You, being the very accepting and loving person, see the good in them and are endlessly willing to help. And before you know it, all the people in your life are sucking the life out of you and you feel dry and depleted. Ask me how I know. It would be easy to say that a healthy relationship is quite simply the opposite of what I'm describing. It's a relationship where you feel revived, rejuvenated, encouraged, and uplifted rather than drained, used, and needed. But there's really more to it than that. And it's complicated because people pleasers thrive on being needed. It's what we believe we're put on this planet for. It's our whole ass identity. So sometimes it feels like a relationship where we're being needed is healthy. Like it makes us feel good. But I'm here to tell you, it's not really all it's cracked up to be. If you're constantly in relationships with people who need a lot from you, it's just not sustainable. Eventually you're going to burn out, and you're either going to burn out at work and at home or both, or eventually you may kind of turn off your emotions and almost feel like there's a brick wall that people can't get through anymore. Like you just can't care. It's just what happens when you get all used up. So think about what you want in a relationship. Think about what a healthy relationship could feel like. And if you don't know, that's what I'm here to talk to you about. It's true that being a people pleaser makes you feel good when you can help other people. So when you are needed by a friend or a romantic partner, it probably feels fulfilling and you feel like you're doing something really good. And there's something true there, but also there's more to you than being someone who takes care of others. Look, there's just way more to you than how awesome you are at being a listening ear for the 30th time your friend goes through a breakup. What I want to know is, does that friend with the 30 breakups also listen to you when you're having relationship problems? Do they give you their undivided attention when you reach out on a sad day? Maybe you feel like the relationship is equal, which is great. But if you reflect on it in this moment and you feel a slight sense of dread or weariness, it's worth questioning if the balance between you and this person is off. A healthy relationship, as opposed to an unhealthy relationship, has a lot of give and take. Mutual support, respect, encouragement, a genuine desire for each other to be happy, successful, and content. Unhealthy relationships can look a lot of different ways, but sometimes it's simply a matter of only one person being devoted to the other person's happiness. Maybe only one of you really cares what the other gets out of life or how the other person is doing. That's not a great balance. That is not sustainable. I'm going to talk a little bit about how to tell if your relationship is healthy, because I think it will help you to identify the people in your life who are really worthy of your time and effort. And it will also help you look a little more closely at the relationships in your life that are challenging for you. I want to help you recognize the signs of a healthy connection. We're not always going to talk about the toxic connections in here without you being able to know what the opposite looks like. What does it look and feel like to have a non-toxic relationship? That's pretty important to know, right? So here are 5 basic but very important ingredients in a healthy relationship: respect, communication, boundaries, support, and trust. Let's go into each of these a little bit. Respect. So in a healthy relationship, respect is the foundation that you build everything else on. You like each other. You honor each other's boundaries, decisions, and individuality without judgment or control. It's about recognizing each other as equals and valuing each other's perspectives and feelings, even when you disagree. Effective communication. The ability to openly express your thoughts, feelings, and concerns is super important in a healthy relationship. It involves listening actively, having empathy, having a willingness to understand each other's opinions without being defensive. Healthy communication helps you have trust and be more authentic with each other. Now, I mentioned without defensiveness, but you should know there are arguments in healthy relationships. You're going to say stupid stuff sometimes. You're going to be defensive sometimes. That's okay. There is such a thing as like a healthy way to argue. And we're not going to necessarily go into that at this point, but you could look on the internet to look up like fair fighting rules or how to have a healthy discussion or argument. There's a lot of good tips out there. Next on our little list here is boundaries, which those of us who are people pleasers, that is not our strong point. We're working on it, right? But you should know healthy relationships thrive on having really good boundaries. Boundaries give us a sense of safety. Boundaries help each of us maintain our independence, our autonomy, and our self-respect within a healthy relationship. They're very important. Definitely something to work on. Support and encouragement. In a healthy relationship, both people should offer support and encouragement to each other. This means being present for each other, showing up for each other's stuff, providing emotional support when someone's having a hard day or a good day, sharing in each other's successes and challenges. It's about being the other person's ally, cheerleader, and being strong for the other person when they need you. This is where things get really off kilter for a lot of friendships and romantic partnerships. If there's not a lot of support that goes both ways, if you're the people pleaser and you're really good at supporting other people and you're not so good at being supported, take a look at whether it's your issue with receiving support or if it's the people around you really not offering support. It's good to kind of check into that. The last one on our list is trust. When you trust your partner implicitly, and let's say it's a romantic partner, you experience a deep sense of being able to rely on them, have confidence in them. Building and maintaining trust requires honesty, dependability, and consistency in words and actions. That's important. It's not about like saying the right thing and then doing weird stuff, right? It's got to be both to have the trust. When you have these 5 qualities in a relationship, you should have a connection that honors your worth. It should feel different, maybe even uncomfortable. We can get into that another time. But it should feel different than the relationships you've had where maybe there's a lot of passion or maybe there's a lot of fighting, but you think you're devoted. It should feel different to have this kind of relationship. I want to go back to one thing I mentioned earlier, actually, when I was describing the importance of boundaries. Having healthy boundaries and having your boundaries respected by another person is a key to making us feel safe and secure. And, my friend, feeling safe and secure is, I would say, the number one thing that will allow you to come alive and thrive within your relationships with friends, romantic partners, and family members. Feeling respected, secure, and valued are central to being in a healthy relationship. When you don't have those ingredients, you have a toxic soup, not a good relationship. Think about the relationships you've had in your life with a narcissistic person. Did you think these qualities of a healthy relationship were present? Maybe in the beginning? Maybe at first you thought the person was super reliable or really present for you. Did they seem like they really honored and cherished you? They said all the right things and they did all the right things to make you feel safe and loved. It's often the case in the beginning, unless we're talking about a parent. That's a different type of relationship. But if it's a friend or a romantic partner, or even a colleague or a boss in some ways, in the beginning, they might have come on really strong with seeming like they were the most amazing, reliable person. And they might have made you feel amazing as well. But when did it start to fade away? Was it gradual? Often it is gradual. And when it's gradual, we are often stuck with the original version we have of them in our minds. This vision of them when they were full on conning us, making us believe they were such a fantastic and upstanding person. Even as they are emotionally abusing and manipulating us, and we have caught on to their schemes, we still see them as they originally presented themselves to us. It is locked in often. It's really hard to shake that first image we have of them as such a wonderful human. We are stuck in the fantasy of them. And when we get stuck with the fantasy of them, we ask ourselves a lot of questions like, did that part of them ever exist? Were they ever that person? Did I imagine it? And here are the worst questions. Is it still inside them and I just need to do or say the right things to make it come back? What did I do to make that person disappear, the one that I loved so much? Those are dangerous questions to ask yourself. The truthful, sickening answer is that no, that version of them never existed in any real way. It was a facade that can only last so long. It was a mask that fell away little by little until you hardly recognized the person in front of you. And most importantly, it was not your fault that they changed. In fact, they did not change. They just revealed themselves over time. It's very different from a healthy relationship, where in a healthy relationship, you'll have ups and downs, but it will not wildly contort and shift until you feel like the ground beneath you is so shaky you don't trust your own feet. When a relationship is full of extremes, that's when it's likely not a very secure or healthy one. Honestly, sometimes people describe romantic relationships that are healthy and secure as pretty boring. The stability and steadiness of them can be hard to get used to after the passionate throes of a toxic relationship. And that's why sometimes people describe toxic relationships as addictive, because it is sort of like chasing a high. It never is as good as you first remember it, though. Never. It doesn't get better. So I want you to reflect on your relationships in your life with anyone. It doesn't have to be a romantic relationship. Any relationships you have that give you a sense of calm inside. Maybe they feel safe in a way you never really thought about before. Often the relationships that are healthy, we don't really think about them as much because they're just there. They're constant, reliable, easy. And the ones we do think about are full of drama and they're challenging and they're difficult. They make us question ourselves. They make us feel like we're wrong. We're always trying to figure out what we should do to improve it, etc., etc. So take a look at the relationships in your life and think about those 5 qualities: respect, communication, boundaries, support, and trust. The relationships you have where especially respect is present, those are the keepers. I hope you have some healthy relationships in your life. And if you don't, or if you're not sure, please don't feel too ashamed about it. It's only something you'll know if you've experienced it, and it's not your fault if you haven't experienced it. But I believe you will. So, until next time, good luck out there. And as always, take care of yourself.